Well, good morning. Um, my mind is part of God's. I am very holy. This is an interesting lesson for me because I think people have a lot of preconceived ideas about what holy actually means, um, and it's those preconceived ideas that we have about what holy is and means and how holiness is recognized and where holiness truly comes from that cause many of our problems in relationship to our practice and new occupation as students and perhaps teachers of A Course in Miracles. um, I think this one of the lessons that have really become a cliche, and yet there's a true experience that one can have in regard to the lesson when we recognize that, as Jesus says, um, try to recognize that your fantasies about your the directions of your fantasies about yourself do not matter. Illusions have no direction in reality; they merely are not true. And this being a totality of illusion, no matter which direction you think you're going in, and no matter which direction you think you've come from, the direction that you've taken, be you the Dalai Lama or be you the bum in the street, has zero to do with your holiness and whether he's holier than whether the Dalai Lama is holier than the bum, or the bum is holier than the Dalai Lama. Well, no matter what direction your fantasies and illusions about yourself, no matter what image you attempt to put into any environment that you may think of to prove something about yourself, none of those images and environments are going to be true. And that's something that we're being asked to look at today, the good, the bad, and the ugly of all of it. Um, so here's an admission that you must make at the beginning of the lesson, right in the first line. My mind is part of God's. I am very holy. Today's idea does not describe the way you see yourself now. It does, however, describe what vision will show you. It is difficult for anyone who thinks he is in this world to believe this of himself, yet the reason he thinks he is in the world is because he does not believe it. So you can tell me namaste, you can prostrate yourself, you can put your hands in front of your face and bow all you want. That's got zero to do with your holiness or lack of holiness for that matter, nor does it have anything to do with your brother's holiness or your holiness. You could have all the credentials you want after your name that tells you've taken enough courses to be a minister, a doctor of divinity. It makes no difference what direction that your fantasies about yourself have taken. They are all illusory in regards to holiness, because holiness is an extension of wholeness, of the wholeness of God. And that's where our wholeness and holiness is sourced. Um, and the idea that you are mind in mind and only mind alleviates the need to look at any external trappings, any environment anyone finds himself in, and base their holiness on whatever anyone thinks it's meant to look like. Be you doctor, lawyer, minister, priest, stripper, hooker, or con man, each and every one of those brothers can say this same lesson and have it be equally true about them, not because of the occupation that they've ascribed themselves and the direction that their life has taken in this world, but simply because if my mind is part of God's, then everyone's mind is a part of God, and no part of God's mind is unequal to another part of God's mind, because the great line in in miracle principles. And I was listening to a close friend of Krishna's and mine read the lessons yesterday, and it says the perceptual content of miracles is wholeness. The perceptual content of miracles is wholeness. And while they are experienced in consciousness, they do not emanate from consciousness. So it doesn't matter what consciousness association you have ascribed to yourself or any one of your brothers or all your brothers. A miracle demonstrates that minds are one. A revelatory experience will show you that God is love, and therefore so am I, and you are a whole perfect part of God's eternal and infinite mind. And you could not be that without your brother likewise being that, no matter what environment anyone here has seemed to surround themselves with. You will believe that you are part of where you think you are. You could be the Pope. You could be the minister of a major church in Los Angeles. You can be a workshop leader, having workshops around the world. You can be a person who's sitting alone in the dark, having never heard of A Course in Miracles. You will believe that you are a part of where you think you are. That is because you surround yourself with the environment that you want. And you want it to protect the image you have made of yourself. And I think that's important for everybody to look at. And I'm not excluding myself from that either. The image is part of the environment. It's part and parcel. It's all an equal illusion. The image is part of this environment. What you see while you believe you are in it is seen through the eyes of the image. This is not vision. Images cannot see. The idea for today presents a very different view of yourself. By establishing your source, it establishes your identity, and it describes you as you must really be in truth. So the application for today is going to be a little bit different than we normally do. There's some interesting directives down here in the earlier part of the mind-searching period. You'll probably emphasize what you consider to be the more negative aspects of your perceptions of yourself. Toward the latter part of the exercise, however, more self-inflating terms may well cross your mind. Self-inflating terms. Oh, I'm very humble. Oh, I'm very helpful. I'm quite charitable. Oh, I have a lot of virtue, especially compared to other people who I know who are studying A Course in Miracles. Um, It includes all the ego-based attributes which you ascribe to yourself, positive or negative, desirable or undesirable, grandiose or debased. All of them are equally unreal because you do not look upon yourself through the eyes of holiness. When you look upon yourself through the eyes of holiness, there's no need to define yourself at all, nor, I will say, will any definition that you utilize to define yourself, your environment, your brothers will be true. You simply won't need it. You won't need anything because wholeness is lack of need. There is no lack. There is no need in wholeness. You have already been given everything. So there's really nothing to get. Yet there's much seemingly for each and every one of us to forgive. Forgive us our illusions, Father. All of our illusions. Doesn't matter what image we attempt to make for ourselves. The image will never be real, and it's not the image that reflects wholeness, light, and love, but the being, the whole part of the perfect mind of God that you already are, that we begin to experience when we experience ourselves in our right mind. And remember, allowing ourselves to enter into right-mindedness is a function of our willingness to let go of all of our concepts about ourselves and our brother. Salvation can be seen as release from concepts. That's not release from the bad concepts. That's not release from the good concepts. It's release totally from all concepts. You're not a concept. You can't be defined. There is nothing that could define you. You're perfectly fine, exactly as you have been created by your Father. You're perfectly fine as a whole, perfect part of the mind of God. When you look through the body's eyes, or the ego, the image making capacity of your identification with the body's eyes or the ego allows you to appear to yourself as an image and make everything else into an image as well. But I assure you, the entirety of that image, inclusive of the image you're using, is the environment of separation that keeps us, in a sense, that's what you're talking about, that allows us to protect the images we have made about ourselves with the thought that there's one image that would be better than another image to have in this world, to prove to ourselves that we're actually, I'm purifying. I'm in a process of purification. And look what I'm doing and how I am now that I've gone through the process of purification. And look where I came from before I started that process of purification. Well, I'm telling you, anywhere along the line in that process, the image that's utilizing other images of itself, or even the change aspects of images as one mind changes, has nothing to do with the wholeness and perfection that you're created. You're not in your right mind in that regard. And the shift in perception that comes about when you release yourself from wrong-minded thinking about yourself. And that's thinking that utilizes images, both of oneself and the rest of the world, to process its understanding. There's no understanding. Images cannot see. They have no reality whatsoever. We can utilize them much as I'm utilizing the image and the environment I'm in now. But don't make the mistake of thinking that there's one image that's any better, more or less than any other image, and don't think there's any one environment that we can put ourselves in space and time that allows us to be more holy, or allows us more readily to see our holiness, for that matter. You can lock yourself in a monastery. You can join a convent. You can be part of a church. You could worship daily on Sunday. Daily, you go to church on Sunday. You can tithe. You can do all those things correctly. But remember, that's the image that is doing all that. It's not the real you. Believe me, there's no such thing as tithing in the kingdom, because the kingdom's whole and perfect, and there's nothing you can give because you have received everything. You give as an extension of your mind in creation. Now, that does not mean that there are not laws that govern the kingdom, that you cannot utilize the image to demonstrate to yourself and to all the world that those laws are true in the face of the false laws of the world. But don't ever mistake holiness for the package that it comes in, because wholeness isn't contained in any package, nor can you be contained in any package, nor is there a single package in the entire universe. As I said, the package the guru comes in, Ramana Maharshi's package, is not what determined his holiness. The number of followers that he had zero to do with his holiness. Muji is the same way. Muji is a holy man because he recognizes his wholeness and the wholeness of his brothers, in spite of the packages that they come in, and in spite of the package he is appearing to you in. Wholeness has nothing to do with the package, with the image and the environment. It is based on your reality in the kingdom of heaven, and no other basis can it have, because no other basis is there for it to be true. So my advice is, don't let the image fool you. Don't let any image fool you. Utilize this lesson as it is given to you, because your image is beyond the sea, closer than the moon, yet beyond the stars. It lies on a distant shore, beyond the sea, beyond the beach you're viewing the sea from. It lies in the wholeness and perfection of God, who is love. Therefore, so are you, so am I, regardless of the image and the environment that the image seems to be inhabiting. It's going to be true about you and about your brother, no matter what you say or no matter what you think. So the best thing to do is begin to think with the mind of God, rather than with the wrong-minded imperatives of egoic thinking that will tell you there's an image that you can refine so that you can exhibit a worldly brand of holiness, and confuse yourself and your brother into thinking that that's the way to go, because it's definitely not. My mind is part of God's. I'm very holy. That's become a cliche and subject to people's decisions as to what wholeness is, and decisions based on what God's mind is. None of those decisions and none of those bases are true. God is a fact, whole, perfect, loving fact. And your mind being whole, perfect part of his is likewise a fact that can't be proven in the world at all. It can be recognized within yourself as you recognize it in your brother, as you turn your mind inward and release yourself from the images and the environment that you've made to protect the illusion of anything whatsoever.